What's up guys, my name is Bernardo and today we're going to talk about how to make a 25-foot cord that you buy on Amazon or your local hardware store and make it into a PowerCon cord. So PowerCon cords, as you know, can be 50 to 100 bucks depending on the length. Might be a little bit cheaper if you go less than 25 feet. But if you've got movers that are really far out, you're really wanting to bring those in a little bit closer. Let's talk about the cord for a second. I bought 16 gauge cords. And I get a lot of flack over it. So my response is always, know your equipment. 16 gauge cords at 25 feet can handle something like 1650 watts, maybe 1625. It's like right at 13 amps. So what's that cord plugged into? Is it pulling more than 13 amps worth of power? Is it pulling less? Or if you know the wattage, what's the power consumption of that equipment? Every single one of my movers is only 300 watts. I only have one cord. They're not daisy chained together. If they were, it'd still be okay because I'm not maximizing on each side. 300 watts plus 300 watts, 300 watts plus 300 watts, that'd be two separate cords. But even then, all four of those together, it's less than 1600 watts. So know your equipment. Some people will tell you, oh, you have to get a 14 gauge cord. Oh, you have to get a 12 gauge cord. What's that being plugged into? Now, if you're talking about all your setup being plugged into the wall, 100%, you're going to need something heavier than a 16 gauge cord. You're talking about lights, your mixing board, your computer, your speakers. That pulls in a lot. But if you're just talking about one 300 watt light, you're fine with 16 gauges. You'd probably be fine with 18. I just like to stick with 16 gauges. But also know your equipment. Look at your lighting and the manual, it should say how much wattage that's taken up. So what do we need for this? A cord. This was 10 bucks on Amazon. PowerCon cables. This was 30 bucks for 10 of them. And this is a set of male and females. We're just going to use the males. You're going to need a Phillips 1 screwdriver. Now when I say Phillips 1, they have ratings here for different thicknesses. What we're using for this specific PowerCon cables, they're Phillips 1s. If you've also got one of these handy dandy computer small cables that have all the little bits in them, these are fantastic because you're working with smaller things, easier to handle. If not, a regular Phillips 1 screwdriver will be fine. And a pair of wire strippers. At this point, I could do this with a pocket knife. It's easier to do this with a pair of wire strippers. So, get yourself some wire strippers. These are 10 bucks. I'll put links in the description down below for everything. If you don't have a screwdriver, if you don't have wire strippers. It's inexpensive. You have to buy everything all at once. Screwdriver's like $2 or $3. This is going to be $10. The extension cord is going to be 10 bucks. The PowerCons are going to be 30-ish. You can buy cheaper PowerCons or less in a package if you're only going to do 2 of them. Or you can buy more expensive PowerCons. There's some really nice brands out there. What I've bought has really good ratings. I've liked it so far. Let me show you how we did this. All right, so what we have here is our extension cords. This one's already done, but this is our male end of our extension cord. It goes into the wall. And this is also our male end of this extension cord now, but before, it used to be the female end. So you're going to want to cut out the female end from this cord. It's going to be roughly about that. So we're going to pretend that this is still the case, and we're going to cut this extension cord. So we're doing it completely from scratch. So what you're going to get is a cable that looks like that. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to strip a little bit of this cable. Let me get it closer to the camera. A little bit of this cable here so you can get to the 3 wires that are inside. So the bottom of the stripper has some sharp wires. We just kind of go around to score it. And once we've got it scored, it will come right out. And it leaves us with 3 wires. We've got our green is our ground. Our black is our hot or live, and our white is our neutral. You never want to switch your black and your white. They are always hot, neutral. This is the coloring for most extension cords. If you get a different brand that's a different color, you may want to try to figure out which one your ground is, which one your hot is, which one your neutral is. But per code, for most extension cords, so in the US, green's going to be your ground, white's going to be your neutral, black's going to be your live wire. Now this plug here that you get, this is the male end of the PowerCon. This is what's going to go into your fixture. You open it, and put this aside real quick, by twisting this bottom end, and then the top piece just pulls down and sits. So we're going to have both of these sides down, and then these two pieces, the bottom piece and this white piece, we're going to weave through here first. So weave that in first, and then this white piece right in afterwards, and it's going to go in butt first, like that. So now we can start messing with our wires without having to worry about this. When we're done, with plugging these things in, we'll move these back up. So really quickly, you're not going to be able to see it on camera, but these three cables here, one's a ground, your middle one's your ground, one says N for neutral, and then another one says L for live or load. So we just want to make sure that we put the right wires in the right spots. If we mix them, if we mix our ground, we're screwed. But if we mix our live and our neutral wires, it will still work. But you have the possibility of having something create a fire hazard. What you're doing then is you're creating what's called a neutral or a live potential, a hot potential instead of a neutral potential, which if in the right circumstances there's a spark, it could ruin your fixture, it could cause a fire. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we wire this properly. So our white is going to go into our N for our neutral, which is this one here. So if you're looking at this cable, if you point, you'll see two screws sticking up and one screw pointing down. The screw pointing down is your neutral. The middle one is your ground. The one next to your ground pointing up is your hot wire. So back to our wires here, we're going to want to strip a little bit of the wires here and maybe just, I don't know, a quarter inch or so, quarter to a half inch on each of these wires. I'll show you about how much. So this stripper has what's called, their numbers here, the different gauges. These are 18 gauge wires. So you come in, and I know I said this is a 16 gauge cord, but the wires themselves, nope, I guess they're 16. You turn it, and boom, it's out. You do the same for all three. I said 16, boom, you turn it, boom, you're down. Do the same thing for your white. Boom, turn it a little, score it, and boom, you're out. So you're wanting that much wire. Maybe the camera can focus here. That much wire. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn it just enough so it's not all frizzy and they can go into these holes just fine. Now, the screws are already depressed. So what we'll do is we'll start off with our neutral. And again, the screw sticking down is our neutral, but we're also looking for the N. Once you found it, you put it in, you hold it in, and you tighten the screw. And give it a tug just to make sure it's nice and tight. And then we go for our ground is in the middle. Same thing. We put it in. Make sure we hold it, and we tighten our screw. I know this sounds super easy, and that's because it really is. You're making sure nothing is plugged in while you do this. And it came off before I finished tightening that up, so we're going to do that again. And when you're sitting down, this is a lot easier than doing it standing up. Get in your hole. Dagnabbit. My bad, we'll speed through this up again. So we do it again for our ground wire. Put it in. Make sure you hold it in so it doesn't come out while you're screwing it back in. And you just tighten that screw up. Make sure it's nice and tight. And this one keeps coming off. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bend it a little to make it a little bit thicker. And I'm going to twist it. And that should give us the bite that we need to go in here. Pull, that's fine. Pull on the white, white's still good. So now, again, our live wire, our hot wire, we twist it. Just going to open that up just a little. Put it in, and then we tighten it. Okay, tight, tight, tight. Okay, so once we've done that, we've wired up all of our 3 wires. And you know what? I am going to redo this neutral just because I don't like it sticking out so much. And I'm going to fold it in like I folded in the other 2. Just to give it a little bit more of a bite. What I'm doing is I am bending that in half. Spinning it to make sure nothing flares off. And opening. Putting it in. Tightening it. Okay, so once again, we do a tug test, white, green, black, nothing's coming out. This piece here will fit right in. There's slots that connect. And once they connect, you can move the other piece that's gone down the wire here all the way up. So it sits just like this. Then this top piece only comes in one way. Once it goes in, you screw the bottom piece and you're done. Simple enough, we've got our PowerCon cable. So, let's test this out. So you're gonna hear us skipping that video and some things change around here. Our battery just died on our camera, so let's do this again. I'm 100% sure this is gonna work, so let's test it out. Let's grab a fixture out here. Let's plug our male end to the wall and our PowerCon to our fixture. And I can remove the camera here just to show you everything is on and working. And it's just initializing. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. If you have any questions or comments, put them down in the comments down below. Really quick, just to recap, make sure you're putting your black wire is your hot wire, your green wire is your ground wire, your white wire is your neutral wire. Make sure you're not voiding any warranty on your equipment. I am not a licensed electrician, so you're actually doing this at your own risk. I trust what I'm doing. I know a little about a lot of things. So it sometimes can be dangerous, but I think in this situation, I trust myself working with my own equipment. One thing we didn't talk about is the female ends to these PowerCon cables. Now the female ends are a little bit differently just because in this specific cable, they actually have, I'm trying to get it to focus here. There we go. In this specific cable, they have what's called a quick release connect. So what you would actually do is you would buy a quick release female crimp. In my case, it would be a 16 gauge quick release female crimp that you would put to the wire. So one to the black, one to the green, one to the white, and then you'd put them in their respective places. N for your white, L for your live, hot, black, and green for your ground. That is it, guys. Once again, if you guys have any questions, put them down in the comments below. If you've liked this video, give me a like. If you want to watch more of it, subscribe, and let me know what you want to watch. All right, thanks, and take care.